Hi, on this video we're going to learn how to draw just like a basic face and proportions. I have a ruler for measurements. You could either use your pencil to measure or actual measurements, and a nice drawing pencil. Notice I don't have an eraser, not even gonna need one. So I might, for those people that are more comfortable being loose, you don't have to do the measurements, but some people are people who like to measure really well. So I'm gonna just make my head that's gonna be 12 inches. I make a line at 2 12 inches and at one at 6 inches. Now I'm going to press hard with my sketch lines because I want you to see them, but I want you to do it so lightly you can barely see the lines. And so with that, I'm gonna start connecting the lines. Notice how I'm keeping my hand nice and loose. I'm doing many lines to get the one that I want. And what you're trying to do is like a basic egg shape, with the rounded part of the egg being the skull and a little bit of the pointing part of the egg being the chin area. It's okay if you have many lines. In a way, at this point, we're just doing a brief sketch. This is not our finished drawing, so it can be nice and loose. It's at that halfway point that I already measured with my ruler that I'm gonna lightly put the halfway line, and then measuring again, I'm going to divide the 6 up, so that's 2 inches down and 2 inches down. So the bottom half is divided into 3s. And so here is our halfway mark, and then this bottom area gets divided into 3 pieces, 1, 2, 3, right here. And that will get your proportions down. And so this is gonna be a straight on view, so very lightly, I'm gonna put a straight line. I could have used a ruler if I wanted to, but keep your lines light. Next is the eyes. I'm going to kind of look and make a distance that's probably the distance of one eye. And so I'm gonna do some measurements here. If this is the length of an eye, this is the space between the eye, this is the length of the other eye, and then like about half of the distance is the corner of the eye to the edge of the face. And so now I'm gonna remember what I learned in drawing eyes. It goes high up and down above the line, high up and down above the line. It's best to draw your 2 eyes at the same time so that you're making them symmetrical. And remember, the bottom is a little bit flatter and not as round, and we have the little tear duct. A little bit flatter, not as round, and a little bit of a tear duct. This is the opening of the eye, and so we want to think about in the middle, making that iris, the color part of your eye, making sure that it would be a circle if I continued it all the way around, but you don't see all of it. And so part of it is covered. You might want to make sure that it touches the bottom of the lid and almost overlaps the top of the lid. And then we want to add just a nice flap of skin here that's gonna symbolize that roll of skin. Now this should be a review because we looked at how to draw some of our features. So this is our pupil. Remember, that's the hole, like the camera lens, and we're just getting our placement down. And so as we learned earlier, we have our 3 circles for our nose, really thinking that if we look down the corner of the eye, it's inside of that, maybe a little bit closer to the corner of the eye and not the pupil. And that's when we can really begin to start. Your nose kind of starts where your eyebrows are, up here, and then comes down. Remember, we want to connect it to that bottom part and then include our nostrils in here. Okay, so I'm kind of pressing a little bit harder around the nose, getting a little bit of those nostrils. We talked earlier about some nostrils you can see, some nostrils you can't see, and keeping the sides nice and soft. This is now going to be the bottom of your lip. So you can kind of decide how big your lips are. They usually go straight down from the corner, from your pupils. And so your top lip would be above that. And it kind of has that curve shape. So I think they call it a Cupid's bow right here. Sometimes it's either really pointy or rounded. These areas of your lips can either go straight down or curl up. You should be looking in the mirror and looking at like the way that your face looks and how you can match your particular features. You draw one lip and then draw the other lip. Lots of times your bottom lip is flatter and a little bit smaller, but it depends on the person, right? But for placement wise, you want to think about ending it just about at the area of the pupil. Now, eyebrows definitely give you a distinct look. Some people have really angled eyebrows, some people have rounded ones, some people have straight ones that go across, and by looking at someone's eyebrows will really help establish how it looks like that person. And so now that we're thinking about it, some people have like bangs or areas of their hair, so their hair might enter into the circle of the initial skull and then maybe go outside the skull. If you have a ponytail or a bun in your hair, you want to think about your part and how the hair, and we'll talk about hair a little bit later, is an actual form. So you want to make sure that you're coming in a little at the temples and that your hair kind of comes down a little bit before we do the ears, which is from the eyes to the mouth. And so here are your ears, and they kind of come down. They're not high up by the brain, they're on your face side, okay? This is very loose and general, basic sketch that I want you to think about, and not a masterpiece drawing. It's just all about placement. And so by placing your features on this grid, which if you want to think about the straight line coming down, I'm pressing hard, but I don't want you to press hard, and your line coming across, really make sure that your eyes are in the center of your oval and you have a center access so that your features can be symmetrical. On our next portrait, oh, and one other thing, just around here, start to add your neck. A lot of people make a neck that's a little bit too thin. Make sure that your neck definitely comes out from that space there. And see, I have a lot of sketch lines. This is just a sketch. And so I don't want you to think about this being a masterpiece. This is a practice. And so we're practicing our sketching, and we're just practicing measurements. And later we can kind of think about how we might want to very lightly, almost sketch so lightly that we can't see the sketch lines, and then be drawing on top. So our next one was going to be a little bit longer, and it's how to actually make this look real through shading. Okay, so without the guidelines, I'm going to draw again when you went to start, and then we're going to do it based on what I want your homework assignment to be, which is one that has a little bit of shading.